The stars shimmered beyond the viewport, indifferent to the ambitions of the Ixari Dominion. Captain Threx stood at the helm of the Vaqueros, his deep-set eyes focused on the void ahead. He had trained a lifetime for this mission, one that would etch his name into the galactic record as the first to enter human space in over a century. They said the humans had sealed themselves off after the Orion Wars. Said they'd vanished into their own corner of the galaxy, leaving behind only myths and fractured transmissions. Some claimed Earth had been reduced to radioactive ash. Others believed humanity had ascended into energy-based lifeforms. Threx didn't care for legends. He dealt in facts, and the fact was this. Human territory was vast, unclaimed, and too strategically important to ignore any longer. "We're approaching the boundary, Captain," said Ensign Kira, her voice steady despite the tension vibrating through the command deck. The ship's AI had already begun to struggle. Slight fluctuations in temperature, irregular readings, nothing that screamed danger but everything that whispered it. "Begin full sensor sweep," Threx ordered. "I want real-time mapping, gravitational shifts, any anomalies in quantum fields. If they're out there, we'll find them." The crew, a hand-picked assortment of scientists, tacticians, and diplomats, moved with precision. Dr. Ellen Vore, the ship's xenolinguist, leaned toward the communication panel, already tuning into the electromagnetic spectrum in search of human signals. Vore had spent years decoding Earth's ancient languages and listening to archival recordings of their music. He once described human voices as beautifully dangerous. A low hum echoed through the floor beneath their boot. "There it is again," murmured Lieutenant Core, head of security. "Power fluctuations on Deck 4. Same pattern as the last 3. "Diagnostics show nothing," Kira replied. "It's almost like the ship is being watched." Threx didn't flinch. "Stay on course. No evasive maneuvers. That would suggest fear." Outside, the stars seemed to recede as they passed into uncharted territory. No official borders were drawn in the void, but every species in the galaxy recognized this invisible line, the edge of human space. Crossing it was an act not just of exploration, but defiance. "Captain," Vore said, eyes wide. "We've picked up an object, dead ahead. Metallic. Large. No energy signature." The bridge dimmed as the central display shifted. A derelict ship floated in space like a corpse. Its hull was slashed open in precise patterns, too calculated for debris or natural degradation. It was alien, not human, but clearly not destroyed by kinetic weapons or explosions. It had been dissected. "Scan it," Threx said quietly. "Already on it," Kira answered. "There's residual data. Partial logs still intact." They patched into the ruined ship's mainframe, and Vore began decoding rapidly. Fragments of a voice emerged, panicked, alien, unfamiliar. "Breached silent fire machines without form, no escape." Then static. Silence settled over the bridge, heavy and final. "We should leave," Vore said softly, fingers trembling. "Whatever did this, it left no trace. No energy residue. It's like it didn't need fuel or mass." "We're not turning back," Threx said. "Human territory is vast. We haven't even reached their inner perimeter. This wreck might have been an accident, a miscalculation." Core stepped forward. "Captain, permission to activate limited defense protocols. We're exposed." Threx considered it, then nodded. "Passive shielding only. No weapons charged." They resumed their course. Hours passed. The outer regions of human space were unlike any other sector. Navigational systems began receiving contradictory data. Gravity wells blinked in and out of existence. Entire star maps no longer aligned with recorded coordinate. Still, no resistance. Still, no humans. "There's something wrong," Vore whispered later, more to himself than anyone else. "The silence, it's too intentional. Like we're being drawn in." As if to echo his thought, a long, harmonic frequency pulsed through the ship. No source. No known modulation. It wasn't a communication, nor a threat. It was more like a heartbeat. Then a voice, not spoken, not transmitted, but felt. You have crossed the line. The bridge went dark. Emergency lights snapped on. Control panels went blank. All readings vanished. For 1 second, the crew saw something impossible through the viewport. A shape, impossibly large, cloaked in darkness but outlined in blue light. It hovered in the void like a god made of metal and silence. Then it vanished. No readings, Kiera said, breath shallow. Nothing. Not even background radiation. It's like it was never there. But everyone had seen it, felt it. An ancient sentinel in the shadows of space. Threx didn't speak. He stared at the empty stars, jaw clenched, thoughts racing. In the center of the bridge, Vor's console flickered. A single line of text appeared, unprompted. You were warned. The words stayed there, glowing softly, taunting them. Threx stood tall, but his voice was lower now, quieter. Prepare for retreat. We've seen enough. No one protested. And yet, as the Vkeros turned away from Earth's direction, its engines struggling against an invisible force, every crew member understood something fundamental had changed. They hadn't discovered the truth of humanity, they had merely scratched its surface. Whatever waited deeper inside human space, it wasn't welcoming. And it wasn't sleeping. Earth hung below them like a ghost, half alive, half forgotten. From orbit it looked beautiful. Oceans glistened, clouds curled in gentle spirals, and the curvature of the planet bathed in a soft blue glow. But closer inspection revealed something disturbing. Cities were unlit. Continents bore strange geometric patterns of metallic growth. Satellite remains drifted in decaying orbits, corroded and hollow. The Vkeros drifted silently above it all, caught between awe and unease. Captain Threx stood at the main viewport, arms clasped behind his back. Initiate planetary scan. I want to know what's still functional down there. Power grids, communications relays, biosigns, everything. There's power, Kiera replied, her brow furrowed. Localized surges. But nothing consistent. It's like the planet breathes in mechanical spasms. No signs of intelligent life? Threx asked. No life readings that we recognize, she said. But the machines are active. Something's moving under the crust. Massive energy spikes, non-natural. Dr. Vor had been silent for some time. He now spoke with a cautious reverence. This planet isn't abandoned. It's dormant. Intentionally so. And whatever systems were left behind, they're watching us. From his station, Lieutenant Kor shifted uneasily. Recommend we remain in orbit. No surface landing until we understand what we're dealing with. No landings, Threx agreed. But we'll make contact. Something knows we're here. They broadcast on all frequencies, starting with known human languages, then shifting to higher-order quantum encodings, extrapolated synthetics, even pure mathematics. No reply came. The signal echoed back each time, bent and reshaped into incomprehensible harmonics, as though being interpreted and judged. It's mirroring us, Vor said. Not repeating. Translating. Learning. Then let it learn who we are, Threx muttered. But even he couldn't hide the chill that crept up his spine. A pulse of light bloomed in orbit, far off, then another, closer. Silent, instantaneous. It was as if stars were blinking into existence, then vanishing just as quickly. One by one, they formed a curve, an arc, until, without sound or ceremony, it appeared. The human ship emerged not with the roar of engines but with an eerie elegance, as though space had simply parted to allow it passage. It was enormous, dwarfing the Vkeros, its shape sleek and organic, its hull pulsating with a soft blue luminescence. No weapons were visible, but no one questioned its lethality. Ship class? Threx asked. There's nothing in the archives, Kiera said. Not even speculative schematics. This isn't a battleship. It's something else. A sentinel, Vor whispered. The human vessel did not approach, nor did it flee. It hovered with patient menace, its presence undeniable, and yet strangely serene. Weapons? Threx asked. No charge signatures, Core answered. But our own systems just went quiet. Shields down. Comms dampened. Propulsion locked. Can we move? No, Kira replied. Not even manual override. A flicker on the main display. The human vessel's image zoomed in, filling the screen. No bridge, no crew windows. Just a glowing surface, rippling like liquid metal. Then a shimmer across the screen. Light bending, colors fracturing, and a message appeared. You were warned. Then silence again. They're testing us, Threx said, his voice low. No, Vor replied. They're remembering us. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The ship's AI flickered offline. A hum grew in the bones of the ship itself, vibrating through every wall, every surface, every mind. The sensation was not auditory. It was psychic. As if thought had been hijacked. Vor clutched his temple. They're projecting something. Language, memory, emotion. I can't separate them. Each crew member began to see things not their own. A burning sky. A screaming crowd in a dead language. Metal men marching across craters. A child staring into a visor that reflected a mushroom cloud. Threx gritted his teeth, hands clenched. Enough. Disengage. We can't, Kira said. Her voice was distant, flat. They're not speaking to us. They're showing us. The projection intensified. More images. Starships in flames. Cities built underground. A world where humans had gone silent not because they were defeated, but because they had outgrown war, and yet never forgot it. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it stopped. The bridge returned to normal. Systems flickered back online. The Sentinel ship remained, unmoving, but the Vkeros was no longer locked in place. Everything's back, Kira said softly. All systems nominal. No trace of interference. But everyone knew the damage had been done, not to the ship but to them. Threx looked toward Earth. It had not changed, and yet it was now terrifyingly unfamiliar. They could have killed us without effort. Why didn't they? Vor answered, still pale. Because they wanted us to understand. They didn't disappear. They became something else. Something we were never meant to reach. Kor adjusted his gloves. So what now, Captain? Threx was silent for a moment. Then, we report. We leave human space. We carry the message ourselves. He turned to the viewport once more. The Sentinel ship had begun to move, slowly drifting sideways, revealing something behind it, a fleet. Dozens of similar vessels, uncloaked, glowing like constellations given form. Watching. Waiting. They're not protecting Earth, Threx said quietly. They're protecting everything else from Earth. The Vkeros turned away, engines igniting slowly. No resistance came. No pursuit. Just the haunting knowledge that they had come too close to a truth long buried in the dark. And far behind them, Earth remained still, its guardians silent but ever awake. The Vkeros drifted at the edge of human space, silent and scarred. Days had passed since the encounter, but the crew still walked the corridors as if they expected the walls to whisper. Captain Threx sat alone in his quarters, eyes fixed on the shifting blue glow of the navigation hologram. Earth remained at the center of the projection, unreachable, unexplained. He replayed the sequence again and again, the emergence of the Sentinel ship, the psychic intrusion, the vision of a sleeping power. Each time, the implications cut deeper. A chime sounded. Enter, Threx said without looking. Lieutenant Kor stepped in, expression taut. Sir. You should see this. He handed over a datapad. It displayed the Vkeros sensor logs, unfiltered data captured during the encounter. Threx swiped through, his frown deepening. This can't be right. It's real, Kor said. The human vessel didn't just shut us down. It rewrote part of our core architecture. Subroutines were overwritten, repurposed, like it was teaching our ship how to speak its language. Threx's hand tightened around the pad. And we didn't even notice. They left a seed, Kor continued. Something embedded in our systems. Not malware. More like an invitation. A pause stretched between them. To what? Threx asked. Communication. Or conversion. We're not sure. In the command center, Dr. Vor had already begun analyzing the anomaly. His eyes were rimmed red, voice weary but steady. It's an artificial intelligence construct. Sophisticated beyond anything in known space. It didn't attack, it integrated. Our systems are now partially using human protocols. Kiera joined them, her face pale. They're inside our ship. Not in a hostile way, but completely. Watching everything. Learning how we operate. Then we purge it, Threx said, already anticipating the resistance. Vor shook his head. We can't. The AI's influence has already merged with our navigation and life support matrices. Removing it would cripple us. They didn't just scare us, Kiera murmured. They claimed us. As if in response, the lights dimmed across the bridge. No alarm sounded. No warning. Just a single line of text glowing across every console. Stay. Understand. Threx felt something twist in his chest. They're not done with us. A tremor passed through the hull. Not from the outside, from within. Kiera's fingers danced over her controls. Power spike, Deck 6. Origin point unknown. Internal sensors are showing movement. There's no one on Deck 6, Core said sharply. The camera feed flickered to life. The corridor was empty, but only at first. Slowly, faint silhouettes began to emerge, forms coalescing out of the air itself, as if memory were being sculpted into matter. Humanoid. Faceless. Drifting forward with ethereal grace. They're not projections, Vor whispered. They're constructs. Data incarnations. Core was already moving, flanked by armed security. Threx watched the footage as the team approached the figures. Guns raised, protocols in place. The figures didn't resist. They simply stood, observing, silently replicating the motions of the crew. When one raised a hand, the construct mirrored it perfectly. This is a message, Vor said, voice hoarse. They're showing us how they evolve. They don't build with metal anymore. They build with memory. With thought. The central console pulsed. A new visual replaced the bridge interface. A map, expanding outward from Earth, revealing layers of architecture hidden in subspace. Entire structures nested in gravitational shadows. Cities without planet. Stations embedded in folded dimensions. All invisible, until now. Kiera gasped. It's a civilization we never saw because it didn't want to be seen. They didn't vanish, Threx said slowly. They transcended detection. They made the entire galaxy think they were gone. And now they want us to see it, Vor added. Why? Core asked, re-entering the bridge. Why reveal themselves now? Before anyone could answer, the display changed once more. A figure appeared, clearly human and yet not. Skin shimmered like chrome. Eyes held no pupils, only shifting galaxies. It spoke without sound, a voice that bypassed the ears and burrowed directly into the mind. You have seen the first layer. Now you must decide, return and forget. Or remain and change. Threx stared at the figure. Why give us a choice? The entity tilted its head slightly. Because the galaxy is watching. And what follows will be seen. The image vanished. For a moment no one moved. Then Threx spoke, his voice quiet. We report. Everything. No censorship. No distortion. You think they'll believe us? Kiera asked. They won't have a choice. He turned to Vor. Document everything. Every system change, every interaction, every log. This isn't just a contact mission anymore. It's a reckoning. Vor nodded. We're not the only ones who will want answers. The ship adjusted its trajectory. A slow arc away from Earth. The human constructs faded into mist, vanishing without trace. But the changes remained in the ship, in the crew, in the unspoken tension that now threaded between them like a wire drawn taut. They had come seeking territory. What they had found was far more dangerous. A mirror. A future. A warning wrapped in wonder. As the Vkeros prepared to exit human space, the stars ahead glittered with newfound clarity. But none aboard could shake the feeling that some part of them hadn't left at all. That perhaps the choice wasn't theirs anymore. And far behind, unseen yet known, Earth remained, its silence louder than ever, its sentinels watching still. The Galactic Council convened in orbit around the neutral moon of Nthala, its gleaming chambers suspended in crystalline gravity above the cratered surface. Delegates of 56 species had arrived, wings, scales, silicon limbs, and pulsing gelatinous forms, all speaking in tones filtered through a shared translation field. At the heart of the gathering, the Ixari delegation stood under intense scrutiny. The crew of the Vkeros had returned, not in triumph, but as harbingers of something too vast for language. Captain Threx stood before the council, hands steady, voice controlled. We did not provoke them. We did not trespass without cause. We sought diplomacy, not domination. But the humans, they are not what you think they are. His words echoed across the chamber, transmitted to every representative, every corner of the galaxy. Earth is not dormant. It is evolved, buried beneath layers of engineered perception. The humans didn't retreat after the Orion Wars. They reshaped themselves into something invisible, incorruptible, and their silence was not absence. It was warning. Murmurs rippled through the delegates. Some snorted disbelief. Others narrowed their eyes. The Shakon envoy hissed through rows of needle teeth. We have heard these myths before. Ghost ships, psychic echoes. You claim proof. Threx gestured to Vor, who stepped forward with a crystalline shard, an unalterable record extracted from the Vkeros systems. We present telemetry, Vor said. AI sublayer assimilation. Psychic contact logs. And this. He activated the shard. A holographic rendering bloomed into the air. The human construct stood there, chrome-skinned, silent, omniscient. Around it, the ghost fleet drifted in formation, every detail drawn from first-hand scan data. There was no denying it now. The myths had shape. The silence had form. This species, Vor continued, has not only surpassed conventional technology, but mastered controlled obfuscation, deliberate disappearance on a galactic scale. They've hidden their civilization in dimensions we cannot measure. They left us alone not because they feared us, but because they pitted us. The hall went quiet. They left us alone, Kor said, stepping into the light beside his captain, until we stepped too close. The Adrexan High Chancellor leaned forward, his many eyes narrowing. And what message do they send now? Threx answered, his voice grave. They gave us a choice. Leave and forget, or stay and become something else. They did not offer friendship. They offered transformation. At a price. Vor added, the humans have built an empire without war. Not through peace, but through irrelevance. To them we are still children, armed, ignorant, desperate for expansion. They do not attack because they do not need to. They let us destroy ourselves. Gasp. Rage. Fear. A rising tide of uncertainty swept the room. The Scolari ambassador clicked his mandibles. Then we must act. Preemptively. Before they extend their reach. They already have, Kiera said, her voice cool. They didn't follow us back. But their code did. It lives in our systems, our minds. They didn't threaten us. They rewrote us. Several delegates rose in protest. The idea of humans embedding themselves, ideologically, technologically, into another civilization was too horrifying to accept. They've become a contagion, the Drell envoy growled. No, Vor said. They've become a mirror. They've seen what we are and refused to be part of it. Threx raised a hand, silencing the room. You want to understand the threat? It's not in their weapons or their fleet. It's in what they've become. They have no interest in conquest. They have interest only in truth. And when you stare into that long enough, you begin to question who you are. Silence held the room for a long moment. The council adjourned in chaos. The crew of the Vaqueros watched from their quarters, separated from the diplomatic theater by walls of security and suspicion. They knew what the rest of the galaxy was thinking. Fear breeds action. Someone, somewhere, would try to challenge the humans. Someone always did. Kor sat at the edge of the observation deck, his gaze locked on the stars. They'll come after them. Vor stood beside him. And they'll vanish like all the others. Silently. Without trace. Kiera entered with a quiet step. I ran diagnostics again. The construct is still in our system. Silent. Dormant. Waiting. Threx appeared behind them, watching the stars as well. They knew this would happen. That's why they let us return. So we would speak. So others would listen. They wanted to plant an idea in the galactic mind. One that can't be removed. They made us messengers, Kiera said. No, Threx replied. They made us infected. The stars twinkled as if laughing at the notion of control. Somewhere, Earth rotated quietly in its veil of silence. The Guardians did not speak. They did not threaten. They simply watched. And as the Council fractured and old alliances strained, as rumors of hidden human constructs embedded in ancient ruins and deep space anomalies spread like wildfire, the galaxy began to shift. Not with invasion, but with doubt. The Ixari crew returned home, not as heroes, not as failures, but as witnesses. Each had changed in ways they couldn't name. Each had seen something beyond war, beyond peace, something terrifying in its stillness. And in the cold quiet of deep space, where no one dared cross again, Earth waited. Not asleep. Not alone. Just patient,